Spain's most-watched talk show, La Revuelta, had never seen anything like it. The studio lights shimmered against the glass backdrop, the crowd murmured in anticipation, and the name Yaman was on every tongue. For weeks, Spanish tabloids had speculated about his rumored heartbreak, his career moves, and, as always, his past with Demet. But tonight, everything would change. The producers had promised an exclusive, something personal, something real. The moment Can walked into the studio, the room changed. The audience erupted into cheers, cameras zoomed in on his face, and yet, there was something different about him. His usual confidence was replaced by quiet intensity. He looked older, heavier, not physically, but emotionally. He shook hands with the host, Marta Gonzalez, who smiled but couldn't hide her curiosity. She leaned forward, whispering before the cameras went live, "Everyone's been waiting for this, Can. Are you sure you're ready?" "For once," he said softly, "I'm not here to act." When the red light blinked on, the world tuned in. Millions of viewers from Spain, Italy, and Turkey were watching simultaneously. The host introduced him with flair. "Tonight, we welcome one of the most talked-about stars in Europe. From Viola Come Il Mare to his Hollywood debut, he's conquered every screen, and every heart." But who is the man behind the fame? Tonight, we find out. Ken smiled faintly. The applause faded. The first few questions were light, about his career, upcoming projects, his life between Rome and Madrid. But then Marta took a breath, her tone shifting. "Can, we have to ask, there's been a lot of speculation lately. About someone from your past. Someone your fans never forgot." He didn't flinch, but the tension was visible in his jaw. The audience leaned forward. "Are we talking about Demet?" he asked, his voice low. "We are," Marta replied gently. For a moment, he looked down at his hands, the same hands that once held hers, on screen and off. The crowd went silent. "You know," he began, "I thought time would bury some stories. But it didn't. It just made them heavier." The host waited, sensing something deeper. "Can, what really happened between you two?" He took a breath. The lights reflected in his eyes like flickers of memory. "When you live under the spotlight, you stop being human. You become a story. One written by everyone but you. And somewhere in that story, we got lost. I lost her. And I lost myself." The audience gasped. This wasn't a PR statement. It was real. "I didn't plan to talk about Demet tonight," he continued. "But when you've carried a truth long enough, silence starts to hurt more than honesty." Marta nodded. "So what is that truth?" He hesitated, glancing at the camera, as if speaking directly to someone who wasn't there. "The truth is, it was never just chemistry on screen. It was more. It was real." The room froze. The host's eyes widened. The crew exchanged glances. Spanish tabloids would have enough to explode for weeks. But Can didn't stop there. His voice softened, trembling now. "And I've spent years pretending I moved on, convincing everyone, maybe even myself, that it was over. But the truth is, some parts of you stay with the people who truly saw you." The audience burst into whispers. The host pressed her hand to her mouth. The studio, once buzzing with energy, now held the fragile silence of truth. Somewhere in Istanbul, Demet Özdemir's phone began to ring. Her manager answered, whispering, "You need to see this, right now." The moment the cameras cut to commercial, the studio erupted into chaos. Producers were whispering frantically into their headsets, the host stared blankly at her cue cards, and the audience still sat frozen, unsure whether to clap or cry. Ken had just dropped a bomb that no one, not even the show's director, saw coming. The floor manager approached him, his face pale. "Ken, that was incredible. But are you aware of what you just said?" Ken removed his microphone slowly. "For the first time," he said, "I am." Within minutes, his confession was all over social media. Spanish Twitter exploded with hashtags, Hashtag Yaman confession, hashtag La Revuelta Demet, hashtag it was real. News anchors cut their regular programming to replay the clip. The scene where he said it wasn't just chemistry, it was real, was shared millions of times in less than an hour. Outside the studio, dozens of fans had already gathered, holding signs with his and Demet's names. Some cried, some smiled. Everyone felt they had just witnessed history. But while Spain celebrated the raw honesty of a man finally speaking from the heart, things were very different elsewhere. In Rome, Sarah Bluma watched the entire episode from her apartment. The flickering television light reflected off her tear-streaked face. She had supported him through every storm, the criticism, the pressure, the distance, but this one? This felt different. She replayed his words over and over. It wasn't just chemistry. It was real. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Then what are we?" Her phone began to vibrate, messages from her friends, her PR team, her mother. Everyone asking the same thing, "Are you okay?" She turned the phone off. Meanwhile, in Istanbul, Demet Özdemir's manager, Selin, knocked gently on her door. Demet opened it, wearing a simple hoodie, her hair tied loosely, her expression unreadable. "You saw it?" Selin asked. "Yes," Demet replied quietly. "He said your name. On live TV. After all these years." Demet walked to the window, staring at the city lights. "He didn't say my name," she whispered. "But he didn't have to." Selin hesitated. "Do you want to respond?" Demet shook her head. "Not tonight." She turned off her phone, sat by her piano, and played a soft melody, one she used to hum during her Kensi Kuss filming breaks. The same tune that Can once said reminded him of peace. Back in Spain, the producers of La Revuelta were already receiving calls from every major network in Europe. They wanted replays, interviews, follow-ups. The episode was being called the most emotional live confession in European TV history. But amid all the noise, Ken sat alone in his dressing room, staring at his reflection in the mirror. His hands trembled as he whispered to himself, "Why now? Why couldn't I have said it when it mattered?" There was a knock on the door. Marta, the host, entered quietly. "You know, we've had hundreds of guests," she said, "actors, singers, politicians. But none of them ever spoke like that." He looked at her with tired eyes. "I didn't mean to make headlines." "You didn't make headlines," she said softly. "You made history." Ken smiled faintly. "History doesn't comfort hearts, Marta. It just remembers them." That night, he returned to his hotel room and turned on his phone. Thousands of notifications, from fans, from producers, from friends. But one message caught his eye. It was from a Turkish number he hadn't seen in a long time. Just 3 words. "You finally did." He froze. His heart skipped a beat. He didn't need to check the contact name. He knew. It was her. By sunrise, the world was split in two, those who believed Can's confession was a sign of courage, and those who saw it as a betrayal. Every magazine cover had his face on it. Yaman's love confession shakes Europe, Sarah in tears after live broadcast, Demet's silence speaks volumes. The noise was deafening. In Rome, Sarah Bluma woke up to find a crowd of photographers outside her building. She pulled the curtains closed, her phone buzzing relentlessly. Her publicist called for the 5th time that morning. "Sarah, we need to make a statement." "The press, no," she interrupted sharply. "No statements. I'll talk to him first." She looked at her reflection in the mirror, red eyes, pale face, exhaustion written all over her. "He owes me the truth," she whispered. Meanwhile, Ken was sitting in his hotel room in Madrid, surrounded by silence and half-empty coffee cups. He hadn't slept all night. His phone lit up. Andrea, his manager, was calling again. "Ken, what did you do?" Andrea shouted as soon as he picked up. "You broke the internet. Do you realize what's happening? Every outlet wants an exclusive, Turkey, Spain, Italy. Sarah's crying on her balcony, and Demet, what about Demet? Can cut in. Andrea hesitated. She posted something. On Instagram. It's everywhere now. Ken opened his phone with trembling hands. There it was, a black and white photo of the sea, captioned, "Some stories never end. They just change the way they're told." The post had over 2 million likes in less than an hour. Fans flooded the comments, "She still loves him, this can't be a coincidence." He spoke, she answered. Ken leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes. For a moment, the world outside disappeared. He remembered that sea, the same one where he and Demet had filmed their last scene together years ago. It wasn't nostalgia that hit him. It was pain. Andrea's voice snapped him back. "You need to fix this. Sarah's team is furious. They're threatening to cancel your joint campaign in Milan next week. I don't care what you feel, you either control this now, or they will." Ken's silence was enough of an answer. He hung up. A few hours later, a knock echoed through the hotel suite. He opened the door, and there she was. Sarah. No makeup, no cameras, no PR smile. Just a woman with heartbreak in her eyes. "I had to come," she said quietly. He gestured for her to come in, but she stayed at the door. "Don't. I won't stay long." He swallowed hard. "Sarah, please, don't Sarah me," she snapped, voice trembling. "Do you have any idea what it felt like? Sitting there, watching you talk about another woman like that?" He lowered his head. "It wasn't about her. It was about what I never said." "You think that makes it better?" she asked, tears forming. "You told the world that what you had with her was real. Then what are we, Ken? A story you tell yourself to forget her?" He looked at her, guilt burning in his eyes. "No. You're the peace I found after the storm." "Then why does it still sound like you miss the rain?" she whispered. That line cut him deeper than she could imagine. He took a step closer, but she stepped back. "I can't do this," she said softly. "Not when I don't know if I'm healing your heart or just holding its shadow." And with that, she left. Ken didn't stop her. He couldn't. He stood in silence, staring at the closed door for what felt like forever. Hours later, La Revuelta's official channel uploaded a short clip titled, "Ken Yaman," and censored moments after the confession. It went viral instantly. The camera had caught him backstage, head in his hands, whispering something under his breath, "Demet. I wish I could tell you it was easy to forget." That one sentence was enough. The internet exploded again. Fans began comparing every detail. Sarah's tears, Demet's post, Ken's backstage confession. In Istanbul, Demet turned off her phone and stared out the window, whispering to herself, "Then why didn't you?" 3 days after La Revuelta, the storm hadn't slowed, it had only grown louder. Every magazine, every talk show, every news anchor had only one headline, "Ken Yaman's confession, the love that never died." Italy, Spain, and Turkey were united in curiosity, in obsession. Everyone wanted more. His team was drowning. Andrea barely slept. He'd been on calls with PR firms, brand partners, and producers, all asking the same thing, will Ken make a statement? Will he apologize? But Ken refused. He didn't want to feed the noise. He knew that every word would only twist the truth even further. But silence had its own price. The hotel lobby was filled with reporters, camera flashes bursting like lightning. As he walked through them, someone shouted, "Ken. Is Demet still in your life? Are you and Sarah over? Did you lie on live TV?" He didn't answer. But his eyes, tired, swollen, red, said enough. That night, he finally got a call from Sarah. It wasn't long, just a few seconds. "I'm leaving for Paris," she said softly. "I need time." "Sarah, please, don't," she interrupted. "You said everything you needed to. To the world. The line went dead. Ken stared at the phone for a long time, the words echoing in his head. You said everything you needed to. To the world. He had been honest for once in his life, but honesty had left him alone. Hours later, Andrea barged into his suite with a pile of newspapers and his laptop. Look at this. You're trending in 40 countries. Demet's post, Sarah's flight, everything's being tied together. If you don't say something now, you'll lose everything. Ken looked up slowly. Maybe that's the price of truth, he said calmly. Andrea slammed the papers onto the table. You don't understand. You've built this career for 10 years, and you're throwing it away for, what? A moment of nostalgia? Ken stood up, voice steady but sharp. It wasn't nostalgia. It was the truth. I'm tired of pretending my past never existed. Andrea sighed, defeated. Then at least control how it ends. Spain wants you back for a follow-up special. You can tell your side before they do it for you. Ken hesitated. Another live show. Another chance. But this time, not for damage control, for closure. He nodded slowly. Set it up. The next day, Spanish TV announced it publicly, breaking news, Yaman returns to La Revuelta, one last time. The internet exploded. The first episode had already become one of the most watched broadcasts in Spanish television history. Now, the world was preparing for the sequel, The Final Confession. As the sun set over Madrid, Ken sat alone in his dressing room again, the same mirror, the same reflection, but this time, a different man. He wasn't afraid anymore. He wasn't confused. He just wanted peace. He pulled out his phone and stared at Demet's post again. That sentence, "Some stories never end," echoed in his mind. He typed a message. Some do. But they leave something behind. He never pressed send. Instead, he took a deep breath, stood up, and walked toward the stage. The audience was waiting. The lights were blinding. Tomorrow, the world would talk again. But tonight, for the last time, he would speak. Not as the actor, not as the heartthrob, but as the man behind the headlines. And everyone knew, this wasn't just another interview. It was the ending of a story that had begun years ago, one that never really ended at all. The air inside the La Revuelta studio was different this time. No cheers, no music, no glittering introduction, only silence. The crowd wasn't there for gossip anymore. They were there for closure. The red light on the camera blinked on. Millions were watching across Spain, Italy, and Turkey. Yaman sat across from Marta Gonzalez once again. This time, there were no cue cards, no rehearsed questions. Just truth. Marta spoke softly. Ken, you came here tonight by choice. You said you wanted to speak one last time. Why? He took a breath, eyes glistening. Because silence can destroy more than lies. And I don't want to live another day misunderstood, not by them, not by her. The audience leaned in. No one dared to move. A few nights ago, I said things I'd kept inside for years, he continued. And the world took those words, twisted them, and turned them into a war between past and present. Between Demet and Sarah. He paused, the emotion visible in his trembling hands. But the truth is, I never loved one against the other. Demet was the fire that woke me up. Sarah was the peace that helped me breathe. One taught me what love could feel like, the other taught me what it should become. The crowd gasped softly. Marta's eyes filled with tears. I owe them both something, he said, voice breaking. To Demet, gratitude. For reminding me that love can be real, even when it hurts. And to Sarah, forgiveness, for not giving her all of me when she gave me everything. For a moment, no one spoke. Ken looked directly into the camera now, not at the audience, but through them. Straight to the two women who had defined his heart. If they're watching, he said slowly, I want them to know, I'm not the man I was when they loved me. But every version of me still carries a piece of him. The room fell silent. A single tear rolled down his cheek, catching the studio light. He took a deep breath. This isn't an apology to the world. It's a goodbye to the noise. To every rumor, every headline, every story that turned something beautiful into something broken. I don't belong to that chaos anymore. He stood up slowly, removed his microphone, and placed it on the table. I came here to end a story, he said softly. And maybe, begin living again. The camera stayed on him as he turned and walked away. No dramatic music, no applause. Just silence, deep, raw silence. That clip would be replayed for weeks, analyzed by every outlet in Europe. But what no one saw on camera was what happened minutes later, backstage, away from the lights. Sarah was there. She hadn't told anyone she would come. When he saw her, he stopped. They didn't speak for a long time. Then, with tears in her eyes, she said just 3 words, "I believe you." He didn't move closer. He didn't need to. For the first time, he didn't need to fight to be understood. That night, as they left the studio separately, the headline screamed again, Yaman ends it all with one final confession. The studio fell silent. And somewhere in Istanbul, Demet watched the replay in her apartment, smiling softly. She whispered to herself, "That's the man I once knew." The screen faded to black. The world, for the first time, stopped talking, and started feeling. Because this time, it wasn't about fame. It wasn't about scandal. It was about truth. And in that truth, everyone finally found peace.